and I have felt good and bad watching this, so maybe this is the most successful piece of art ever made. I have just spent 4 hours of my life watching Terrifier 1 and 2. I genuinely do not know how to feel. I have seen the Terrifier movies on and in and around the internet for a long time, since they got released. There's been a huge amount of hype. Art the Clown is a horror icon. I cannot argue with that. He is now here in the annals of horror history as a guy who murder. I've always seen them as kind of just gore-fest murder films. They are just gore-fest murder films. I'm so torn on how to feel about these films because they are trash, and I love trash usually. Trash is like my favourite genre of movie. One of my favourite movies is, for example, Basket Case. Literal trash. Like, I cannot describe it any other way, as it is the fast food of 80s horror films. It's just garbage that you put in your mouth, but somehow it still satisfies you a bit. Terrifier, the first one, objectively, terrible film. Art the Clown. The guy who plays him is fantastic. He's a clown, which I love. I love a clown. But something about him, I don't know. Is he meant to be likeable, or is he not meant to be likeable? Because I want to like him, but I don't like him. He has so much potential that I feel like they don't utilise in these films. The first thing that pops into my head if someone's going to be making like a clown slasher film is that, oh, maybe we should do some like clown themed murders. I don't know, make their guts into a balloon animal, or shove some lights in their head, juggle them to death. I don't know. I think a huge thing has been missed there. I can't tell if these movies are trying to be subversive or if it's just trash. I can't tell. I genuinely cannot tell. I mean, a really good example of this, in the first movie, man's been doing murders. He's been doing stabbing mostly. Stabbing, punching, mutilising. But out of nowhere, just gun. It was funny, but also it fell flat for me. I think it's meant to be funny, but it wasn't. I don't understand. I'll run you through the plot of the first one very, very briefly, just so we're up to speed. There'll be spoilers throughout this whole video, by the way. I don't think these movies change if you know what happens in them. First movie, 2 women on Halloween night, may I add. Does give these movies a lot of spice for me, not gonna lie. They're drunk, 2 drunks drive home, therefore they go to a pizza place. In the pizza place they meet the clown man. He walks in, he sits at the funny clown man pizza booth. He's like, I sit down and I make funny clown faces. And then the rest of the movie is murdering. That's the plot. I mean, there's like really mild plot where girl's sisters comes and drives to them to rescue them, but she also gets murdered. There's a guy. I mean, one of the sisters has to go piss, so she enters a random building with a random man. Like, it's not very realistic, I'm not gonna lie. And she's like, can I piss? And he's like, okay, I'll let you piss. Takes her to a really, really dingy toilet. There's a quite a funny line in it where like the other drunk lady is like, I trusted the clown more than this random man who's standing out a skanky apartment building. Kind of agree with her. But she gets locked in. Her friend gets curious. Her friend goes in after her. Her friend gets murdered horribly in front of her friend's eyes. It's all just murder. This is where my confusion sets in. Art the Clown is like on the precipice to me of being really, really good. These movies, tonally, are totally wrong for his character, I feel. I feel like these movies could have so gone camp territory. They could have kept all the gore, but they could have made it extremely camp. And I think a lot of the things that kind of let it down are kind of the shots and the colour grading and the lighting and kind of the set pieces. There's not a lot of, specifically in the first one, there's no set pieces in it. It's literally in an apartment building, dingy apartment building, and there is murdering. I think one of the main like selling points of the first one definitely was like movie is really gory. There's one scene in it in particular, like that torture method, that medieval torture method where like someone gets hung down and then gets sawed from the groin down. I knew this was coming, so maybe the shock value wasn't as intense for me, but because the characters are so whatever, the gore has almost no impact to me. There's no real, like, I don't feel sorry for the characters necessarily. I'm not really rooting for them either. I just don't care. I don't know if this is an acting problem or if, well, I think it's more of a plot problem actually, because there isn't any plot. There is nothing for you to want to grab onto these characters and be like, yes, I want this lady to win. And Art the Clown is really strange because when you first see him, he's very funny. He has a lot of like outward humour. You want to root for him so bad. But like when he starts doing the murdering, it's so mean-spirited that you suddenly like, oh, actually, this guy's kind of lame. Like he's kind of an asshole, but not in a fun way. Kind of try and build upon that a bit in the second one, but I still don't think it works because the way he murders is so brutal that it's not very funny. It's kind of just tonally wrong. They love this character so much that they just want him to be on screen all the time, which I also understand because he's kind of a cool character. And I think the actor who plays him really well. Like that, he really sells menacing clown. But I don't know. The only bit that really made me laugh was when one of his murder victims, I think it was the main lady, goes to like a funny gap in the door and she's like, no, leave me alone. And Art's like trying to get her. And then out of nowhere, he pulls like a little clown honker, goes at her, and that's pretty funny. Like, but then that's a clown-based joke, so therefore funny. You understand? Do you know what would have been good? Instead of sawing her in half from the leg, this is not clown, but a magician. He could have put her in one of those boxes. Those magician boxes and then sawed her. That's clown thinking. He could have had a whole basement set up in that weird apartment. Maybe. A whole clown basement with funny clown chopping devices. They did do that. The first one, clown did a murder. There's almost like nothing to say about it. It's like a nothing burger film. It's the most interesting part about it is Art and that one like horrendous murder scene. I want to like it more than they do because it's trash. It's trash. Like it's on a budget. It's poorly made. The clown is funny, I think. I don't know what to feel. This whole video is going to be a travesty because I'm literally going to sit here and be like, I do not know how to feel about this. Something didn't go in the noggin properly. Something didn't get... And I'm not saying it has to be perfect either. Like I said, a lot of the movies I really love are completely imperfect movies. They are trash. And I also feel like I can't say these movies aren't made without passion because I feel like they are made with a lot of passion. Possibly too much, maybe. I feel like if they cared a little bit less and like, I don't know. Terrifier 1, whatever. The second one, however, holy shit. This movie is 2.5 hours long. It is like they took all the criticisms from the first one and then tried to fix those criticisms, but didn't really think about why people were criticising it to begin with. So the first one, no plot. Second one, there is too much plot. I think if you're going to do a slasher film, it needs to have just enough plot where you care for the characters, but not so much plot that I'm sitting there and I am bored. Don't know how this movie can contain so much graphic gore and such like horrendous things in it, and I can sit there and I can be bored. I am going to give you a very quick plot synopsis of the second movie. So we've got our main little family. We've got Sienna, we've got Jonathan, we've got Sienna, her brother Jonathan, her mum, and then like Sienna's mates. Sienna is preparing for our Halloween party. She is making a Halloween costume based off a drawing that her father has done. Her little brother is obsessed with true crime, obsessed with horror things in general, which I think is kind of a little like to the audience, because his mum is like, that's gross, and his sister's like, that's gross, what are you doing that for? Plot that, spoilers, her father, because he had a brain tumor, because he went crazy and started seeing things, it's implied that these two kids see things also. So there's like this weird supernatural plot where her father saw Art the Clown murdering people. He kind of prophesied through drawings that she was going to kill Art the Clown. Yep, that's a plot line. So supernatural things out of nowhere, which is chill, whatever. Because Art the Clown comes back to life. He's obviously some kind of Michael Myers supernatural horror being. That curse needs a name, because they need them back for the next movie, so therefore they gotta like resurrect them. The sequel curse. We'll call it the sequel curse. So Art's infected with the sequel curse, where he wakes up and he does a murder right away, because of course he does. He's more funny this time with his murder, because he murders a guy. In the last movie, in Terrifier 1, he lost his eyeball, got stabbed. So in this one, he steals the eyeball of the mortician, puts it in his eye, and is like, haha, isn't that funny? I'm a clown, lol, and then puts his eyeball back. That's the kind of riz I'm looking for. And then he goes to a laundromat to wash his clothes. The weird part about this scene, there's another man in there, he's sleeping. Art the Clown sits down, he turns the corner and he sees there's a little tiny girl, Art the Clown. She's dressed like him. She shits the floor, which is interesting. Wasn't sure how to feel about that. Haha, funny poop. They do a little bonding sesh. And it is implied that only Art the Clown can see this little girl, because the other guy that's in the laundromat wakes up, sees Art the Clown, and he's just pancaking the air. So he can't see him. So that's a thing. Spooky ghost child. I think there's a reason why she's in the movie, and it's because Art the Clown doesn't talk. So there's one scene where Art the Clown has stolen main character's brother. The little girl Terrifier calls brother's sister as brother and imitates his voice. So because she's a spooky ghost and she can do that. So I think that's why she's in the movie. I don't think... It's like to lure his sister to where they are. I genuinely think that's why she's in the film. So that's a whole plot as well. The brother and the sister can also see the little Art the Clown girl. So there's a scene where there's a dead possum, and it's the boy sees Art the Clown and the girl like playing with the dead possum. This is the only thing that got me grossness wise, and I think it's because it's a dead animal, but they start playing like the entrails of the possum. It's pretty gross, but they toss it at the boy, and the boy gets blamed for killing an animal and bringing it into school. Oh my god, I completely forgot about the fucking dream sequence. Oh my god, this movie, oh, it's so long. It's like they had so many ideas and they just shoved it all in one go, but they didn't pace it out. So alluding to the fact that this family has secret psychic powers, the girl has a dream after hearing about her brother talk about Art the Clown murders, because this is 1 year since the last movie, since he did his last murder spree. So she goes to bed, they're playing House on Haunted Hill on her TV because it's a free movie that they could put in the movie. She goes to sleep, and then she has a dream about an Art the Clown television show. Here is one of my biggest gripe with this movie in particular. It's a dream sequence, and weird things are happening in the dream sequence, but it doesn't feel like a dream. It feels like they shot it as if they were filming a show. And I think it could have been helped by having maybe more quirky angles, maybe quirky lighting, faster pacing, because that whole scene was so slow pacing wise. It felt like, I think I've seen pieces of it, like clips of it, and I would have never been able to tell you it was a dream sequence. I just thought, oh, the clown had a television show at some point. I don't really know what they're trying to achieve. I don't know if they're trying to do a kid's show or an advert for a clown cafe, and maybe you could fob it off as a dream sequence, but also like it wasn't dreamy. It wasn't weird enough. People are not going to agree with me. It wasn't weird enough to feel like a dream sequence. So, I don't know, that was interesting. It felt like they didn't quite know what they wanted. I don't know, but the crux of this scene, the reason why, is Art the Clown does this funny dance. He does this funny clown bit. Gives people sweeties. Enjoyed that. See, all these little bits where he's like, oh, sweeties. Here you go. Here's a box with a heart in it. That's pretty spooky. He just gets out a gun and just shoots everyone to death. I don't know whether to laugh about it or not. It's so confusing. I don't know. Is it funny? I don't know. Because the movie is like this tonally. It is so serious sometimes and takes itself so seriously, but then other times I feel like it's trying really hard to be funny but doesn't edit it in a way to be funny. So a very good example of this is the scene where she's in the costume shop because she needs to find replacement wings, because that dream sequence I just talked about, she wakes up and her wings are on fire that she was making for her Halloween costume. So, okay, she needs to go buy some new wings. Sorry, I don't know what that clicking sound is my chair. It's very loud. Art the Clown's in the costume shop. He is doing the funny clown bit I keep wanting him to do. He's getting out sunglasses. It's a sunglasses bit, you know, you've seen it. Getting out sunglasses, being like, hee hee, I'm a clown. Find the honker, hee hee, kazooing. The music, it is dead serious, like ghost horror movie. The music is so wrong for the scene. It needed some levity. It needed funny clown music. Was I meant to be frightened? I personally don't find Art the Clown very scary. He's not like slurking in the corner being a spooky boy. He's very outwardly menacing, but he's not scary. And putting kind of suspenseful, scary music on the top of that scene is so confusing to me tonally. How was I meant to be feeling in that scene? Was I meant to be feeling scared? Like the main character's scared, which makes sense, but have her be acting frightened because it makes sense for her character to be frightened. Also have Clown be funny, because that's his pull, that's the reason why people like these movies. So I don't know, I don't jive with the tone. The tone is so... I think I mainly have a problem with the music. The music choices are very odd. I don't know why we're having serious toned music when bro's blowing a kazoo. It looks like he's smoking a blunt. I don't know. There's the one scene that everyone talks about. So basically her friend, main character's friend, Art the Clown comes to her house, is like, trick or treat, I'm a clown, and she doesn't give him any sweets, which is sad, actually, to be honest. She should have given him some sweets. So he comes back to her house and murders her, but murders her in like, this is what I mean by tonally. It's so disgusting and so graphic that it becomes funny again, but then it goes even further and becomes so graphic and so ridiculous that it stops being funny and becomes just mean-spirited. So there's these moments that I really like Art where he's doing the trick-or-treat bit, but then when they're showing all the murder, it's so much malice, but then they add more layers on top of it that starts making it funny again because it's so ridiculous, but then they add more layers on top of it which makes it so it's not funny anymore. It's so bizarre. The balance between having this much gore and this much intense scenes and trying to find the balance between what you're trying to do here. Like, I don't quite understand these movies' like motive. Quick rundown of the scene. He stabs her in the eye. He scalps her, which is gross. And then this bit made me feel uncomfortable. He like shoves her on the bed face down, gets on top of her, starts cutting her back up, gets her arm and twists her arms off. Twists her arm off. Like this is where it starts. It's funny at first because he stabbed her eye. Oh my god, he's scalping her. Whoa, this is crazy. Haha, lol, insane. Gets her on the bed. Oh no, what is he gonna do to her? Is this funny still? Starts slicing her back. I'm not sure if this is funny. Starts ripping her arm off like you would like a chicken bone. Oh, okay, this is funny again because it's so ridiculous that he's ripping her arm off like you would like a piece of chicken bone or whatever. So that gets funny. But then there's a scene of her on the floor crawling towards her phone where her brain is out, her eye is sticking out, she's got no arm, crawling towards her phone where her friend is calling her. And then you're like, oh, this is horrible. This is actually horrible. Why am I watching this? And then it goes back up again to being funny because Art the Clown comes in with fucking bleach and salt and starts pouring bleach on her and then starts pouring salt in her and then literally starts pouring salt on her back and then rubbing it into her back. So you start laughing again, but then you're like, when he starts rubbing it into her back, you're like, oh no, this is horrible. So it's literally like this. So I don't know, maybe the movie has worked on me. Maybe that's how I am meant to feel. Because art is ultimately, art as in the concept, not the clown. Maybe that's why he's called that. Art is ultimately meant to make you feel something. That doesn't necessarily mean good or bad. And I have felt good and bad watching this, so maybe this is the most successful piece of art ever made. I don't know! It gets even worse, because we go away from that scene for a bit to do something else, can't remember, come back to that scene, her mum comes into the house, discovers her daughter's body, and Art is just playing with her still, right? And there's like horrific scene of him like cutting her leg off. And you're like, oh my god, this is so funny because it's so ridiculous. And then the girl is still fucking alive. And then you're like, oh, this isn't funny anymore. I didn't find that funny. And you get like a shot of her mum crying her eyes out. And I was like, oh, that wasn't funny. So it's like, I don't know how to feel. After all that, the movie takes like a strong, and then she goes to her Halloween party. Her friend drugs her, which is like not that cool. See, this is what I mean again, like, am I meant to find this funny? It wasn't funny, it was just kind of, oh, that's a bit of a shitty thing for a mate to do. There's another scene where her main character's brother is getting punished, well, his mum is yelling at him for doing the whole possum death thing, and she slaps him across the face, and like, it's done very seriously. So again, am I meant to feel bad? I don't know. This is the same movie where there's a murder clown in it, so I don't know. Do all that, go to the Halloween party, brother gets captured by Art the Clown. This is a really good place for the kind of ending of the movie, I think, to take place. It's at a carnival. This is obviously a budgeting thing. It's at a carnival. I think they say in the movie that it's like an abandoned carnival, but when they're there, it's very clearly like not an abandoned carnival, and it's meant to be Halloween night, so why is there no one there? I mean, you could make the argument that it's like super late and maybe everyone's gone and they've closed, but all the lights are on. It's fine, whatever. Don't care about any of that. It's fine. But the finale of the movie takes place in a haunted house. The haunted house is called the Terrifier, which is quite cute. Quite like that. So I enjoyed the setting, but it just keeps going. So Clown does another murder, he does another brutal murder, whatever, and it's just that, and then the end of, I'm not even going to give you any details because there's not a lot really actually even happens. They kind of just end up running around the haunted house until Art finds them and murders them. Sienna, main character Sienna, she literally, there's kind of like been foreshadowed that she is the one that needs to kill Art because of the whole spiritual, her dad is like, I don't know, prophesizing. It's so ridiculous. She dresses as like a Valkyrie type character. This is where I think some of their ideas also have gotten mixed up, because they obviously wanted to have like an 80s I'm a Valkyrie, like a comic book kind of character, but I don't know how that plays into the murder clown. Like, I don't know quite how those two ideas gel with each other. I just feel like they tried to put 80s nostalgia influence into the movie for not really any purpose. But yeah, she takes a long time to kill Art the Clown. There's a lot of Art the Clown hurting them. It's not fun to watch, to be honest. He's not fighting, it's just him literally whipping these two kids for a few minutes, and it's like, oh, okay. What am I meant to be feeling? I don't particularly care. At this point, I kind of just wanted them to die, because I'm like, I just put them out of misery at this point. So, like, she murders him, but then she doesn't. He gets up, and then he takes her to, like, a little hell portal in the haunt, throws her in the hell portal. She's then, like, drowning in a tube, and the tube is in the dream sequence from earlier. This is why it gets... This is so convoluted, and I don't understand. She's in the dream place with the clown cafe and she's drowning in a tube. Is it meant to be like one of those, like, at the circus, like one of those escapist things where they lock them in like a water tube and they have to escape? See, there wasn't enough foreshadowing of that kind of stuff to make that very apparent that's what the theme was, but I think that's what was going on. She drowns to death, but then her brother is getting like poked. Art the Clown's poking him because he's like dead on the floor or something, and Art the Clown starts eating her brother, so he wakes up and she's like, Sierra, ah! And then she and then she heard some magic or something, and then she wakes up. Oh, there's a magical sword, by the way, that her dad gave her, that Art the Clown stabbed her with. So her magical wound where it got stabbed starts glowing. I don't know, maybe that's what woke her up. She wakes up, comes out of the funny tank, decapitates Art the Clown. Movie over. Oh, there's some like thing with the little girl carrying Art the Clown's head out. But then the movie over. So the one thing I forgot. So like from the beginning movie. The lady who got murdered last in the beginning movie, her face got eaten or something by Art. So therefore she's very scarred up from the incident. And I think this is genuinely like, they genuinely have made her look scary. Like I remember seeing this image way before I knew what the Terrifier movies were, and I'm like, oh, that's actually kind of scary, whatever that is from. But she gets attacked by him. A year later, she goes on an interview with newscaster. Newscaster's rude to her. Therefore, deformed lady kills newscaster. The only reason why this is relevant is because in the end of Terrifier 2, there, after a little bit of credits, there's an after credits scene which I groaned at audibly because I just wanted this movie to be over. It was an endurance test, and not because it was gory, it was just because it was just so much. So there's this really weird scene. This deformed lady, after she murders the newscaster, has been put back into the asylum. She's throwing up. Orderlies they just fucking natter about nothing. The orderlies are just talking to each other. It's literally not important. They could have cut it out. She's pregnant. There is no foreshadowing about this. That the deformed lady is pregnant. Magic? Maybe? There's no scene in which we see Art the Clown and her getting freaky. There's no foreshadowing to this. She's just pregnant. And she is like giving birth, and she's like fondling, the areas, writing on the wall, do a big heart being with her name and Art the Clown. And I'm like, that's cute, but also we didn't see them get freaky, so. But she gives birth to Art the Clown's decapitated head. And then the movie ends. I don't understand. It just feels like they had a lot of ideas, a lot of like little vignettes of things they wanted to do and just shoved them in. Part of me is like mad respect because this is an independent movie still. I think the second one was either kickstarted or it was funded by just a whole bunch of people. There's like a lot of idents before this movie, so I'm assuming it just got funded by a lot of people, but kind of respects the hustle a bit to make this level of trash. I find it interesting because I just feel like I should like these movies, but I don't. I don't know why. Maybe they'll grow on me. I don't know. I have just watched them. Sometimes if you don't watch a movie for a while, suddenly you like it. Can't explain that, but it happens. Yeah, none of the murdering feels very earned. Everything feels a bit like, after you watched it. It's like, to me anyway. Is it just me? Do I just not like gory things? I mean, that kind of tracks for me. I don't love gory things for the sake of gore because, I don't know, it's never interesting. I don't find it interesting. If you find gory film interesting because gore and nothing else, please let me know why. I'm very interested to know. I'm not like trying to diss anyone, but like genuinely curious. I mean, like I feel like for these movies in particular, the answer to the reasons why people will like it is because of funny clown Art the Clown man. Not because of the gore. You can't deny that is like a huge part of this movie franchise. Like, I don't think these movies would have actually gone anywhere at all if that wasn't a part of these films, because, you know, it's like that word of mouth thing. It's like when Texas Chainsaw Massacre came out, which is not a gory film, by the way. That got banned in the UK when it came out. And now that movie has such like a notorious name because of that. And it's not even a gory film. Specifically with this franchise, people are going, oh, we're throwing up in the cinema. Oh, I couldn't stop gagging. Oh, and it's like the whole bit. It's like you dare your friends to go and see it. Which again, kind of why I like it. Because it's trash. That's in the cinema. We don't usually get that. It's wild to me. I think people are desperate for trash, for horror trash. I feel like past 20 or so years, all we've had for horror is either like Blumhouse paranormal, things like Conjuring, things like Annabelle, all that, and which is fun in its own right, but I don't think they're very punchy. They're not trashy. They're trying too hard to be good, and they're not trashy. Then we had like a slew of A24 style movies, you know, like guilt movies, and then we had a whole bunch of Jordan Peele type movies, like Get Out, all horror films which are very good but very, very, very serious, you know, take a lot of effort and energy to watch and understand properly and to process. And I think people are just craving garbage. They're just craving the fast food of horror films, which I think is kind of encapsulates the spirit of what horror kind of is, in a way. It's our way of trying to process through hard emotions, through catharsis, just seeing how much we can push the boundaries without going too far. But yeah, so that was Terrifier 1 and 2. I think that if you are curious about them, just watch them. They were entertaining, but there's something missing, and I don't know what it is. I am fully for having these sorts of films in movie theatres. I am fully for people wanting to consume this kind of media, because it's different. It's different from what we've seen. It is pushing a boundary in a way. It does feel like it's making me passionate enough to talk about it, which I haven't, a movie like, there's been a lot of good movies that have come out recently, but this is just such an anomaly. This is just such a weird phenomenon that people are just so obsessed with these films. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you think about these movies in the comments. I am genuinely curious about people's opinions. I want to like them so bad, and I think I do like them. Let me know what you think. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for listening to me rant. See you next time.